Don't forget it. I did it yesterday.
Okay, Nigeria. Yep. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to have this conversation at this particular moment. From the very last one we had, there's been a lot of developments. I think it's a pleasure to share. Yeah. Um. So, so, yeah. Okay. Okay, just by way of introduction, I'm sure we are all aware of what PGS is, so I don't really need to rush into the core principles of PGS. Just run around through why we are here. And just to share an overview, at least we want to start with the introduction of Nigeria. Okay, it's a bit slow. Um, I don't get. Are you okay? Yeah. Do you text this? No, I'm okay. So as it is, just share an overview of what Nigeria is all about. Like, so in Nigeria, we boast of our capacity because we know we have a lot of population. And through our population, we believe that we formed more like the giant of Africa. And based on that standard, we would like to also like catch up on that leverage to share with what organic agriculture is like. So approximately we have about 87% of the households engaging in crop production, while about 57% of them in livestock, which means that the bulk of the Nigerian population actually have one way or the other trade in agriculture. Maybe not direct, maybe as a secondary production, maybe from the primary production, but the bulk of the Nigerian population actually engages in organic agriculture. But despite these numbers, it still seems that we are still dragging our feet in terms of exploring the full capacity potentials of what organic agriculture could look like in Nigeria. And one of the key factors that we believe is hindering this procedure is the development of standards and certification across the board. And we believe that this contribution of what we have been doing with NOAA will be very helpful in actually solving this problem. And of course, from our practices, we have seen that most of our practices are actually implemented have been yielding the right results as we have planned them. So just a brief overview from NOAA. NOAA is an association of practitioners. It has been a voluntary organization that coordinates and regulates organic agricultural activities in the country. It has been championing the development and implementation of PGS programs in Nigeria. We all know what the thematic. Okay. So the association actually operates through 6 thematic pillars. That is advocacy, research, production, marketing, capacity building, and certification and standards. So through these pillars, NOAA's governance structures are able to build the ideal ecosystem for organic agricultural practices in Nigeria. So going through the major conversation now. We'll be discussing on PGS NOAA, that is where we were, some of the modifications we have developed, and then where we are right now, and then where we are heading to, just as a summary. So as we know, so NOAA would like to take it from where we developed our standards, which was initially developed at 2012 and then revised 2018. The development and publishing of the NOAA standard helped develop the initial structures of PGS. Through this activity, we're able to have our representation in 13 states in the country with pockets of smaller farmers across the board. Through this, the PGS model had 67 registered farms across the country, of which we had 5 groups. I'll explain that as we move on. The model developed had a mix of both private farms and then and groups together, and which kind of like posed a bit of a challenge, while developing groups together. And this is what kind of like one of the reasons why the modifications was developed across cross board. So one of the modifications was that we kind of like evolved to remodel the operational structures, differentiating groups from individual farms. This to empower the self-development structure of PGS. The initial support from the association enabled us to establish their governing structures that lead to their own certification. That is, what we tried to do was to see how we could make the farm groups actually very independent of themselves while developing their certification procedures. So this modification helped us to revise the registration procedure, we revised the certification procedure, we developed templates for documents, for documentation, and then the procedure of operations generally in the PGS. And this also helped us to develop a new label and logo for certification. And we also revised the certification structure. So if you can see on, it's just like they're a bit tiny, I'm sorry, but to be expanded a bit further. But what we tried to do was to separate the registration procedure from the certification procedure, focusing more on why the registration was very important, because we believe that by understanding the registration procedure, we would have a very strong traceability system. And from traceability system that we have developed, we'll be able to capture the right data, for the benchmark of everything that we'll be doing going forward. And of course, having that benchmark would help us identify who is what being certified and who is what. And if anything happens, we'll be able to trace it back to wherever they come from. So this is